I don't normally get a manufacturer concerned that I am overhyping their products, but AVADAR wanted me to know that they do not see the C3 as an electric mountain bike. I did a trail test video soon after they sent this to me for evaluation because, sure enough, it looks like an electric mountain bike. It's spec'd like an electric mountain bike. Its seating position and reach are like an electric mountain bike, and dang it if it doesn't perform like an electric mountain bike. But I wanted to start this video by making it clear that AVADAR does not think that this is an electric mountain bike. This is an electric mountain bike, and a mid-drive at that for under $2,000. No, it's not the same as a high-end electric mid-drive mountain bike that you would get from Specialized Skunk Works or Trek or manufacturers like that. But I don't see any difference in expectations from this and those bikes than you would get from any basic hardtail non-electric mountain bike and hardtail mountain bikes from those same levels of manufacturer. The too long didn't watch is that this is now the bike that I grab when I want to go have fun at the mountain bike park. And if you are looking for a mid-drive electric mountain bike and you are on a budget, you really need to look at the AVADAR C3. The C3 is a Class 1 mid-drive e-bike from a company called AVADAR. Class 1 means that the pedal assist is limited to 20 miles per hour from the factory, though you can change that in the settings up to 28 miles per hour. It also means the C3 has no throttle, but in its place is a shifter for a front derailleur, giving you the choice between two chain rings up front. Mid-drive means that the motor is between the pedals instead of in a front or rear hub. That also means that the peak 250 watts of power gets the same mechanical advantage from the gears as do your legs. That's why peak torque is the same 80 Newton meters common to 750 watt hub motor e-bikes. The C3's frame is conventionally styled, available in this blue with white accents or black with red accents. Yes, the label on this side is missing the first A in AVADAR, but that is often the nature of media samples. They're typically functionally perfect, but at times they're the bikes that can't be sold due to cosmetic issues. Production bikes will say AVADAR on both sides. The 8-gear 12 to 32 tooth cog set in the back is fed by a Shimano Altos derailleur and Shimano rapid fire trigger shifter up front. This combination has the same reliability on the C3 as I've experienced with it in conventional mountain bikes. I click the shifter and I get the gear I need even under hard pedaling load. The 36 volt 10 amp hour battery is cleanly integrated into the down tube and is removable. However, you can just leave it in place and charge it on the bike, as is my personal preference. AVADAR claims 30 to 60 miles of range, though in my testing I was seeing on the lower end of that, even though I'd use no pedal assist whenever possible. 27.5-inch wheels are wrapped in 2.1-inch wide CST Jet tires. They aren't the most aggressive off-road tire out there, but they are more than adequate for most trail needs without being too noisy on pavement. Holding those wheels in place are standard quick release skewers, meaning that changing or repairing a tube is the same easy process for the C3 as it is for conventional mountain bikes. No need to unplug electronics or use a pair of wrenches for the job, as you need to change a tube on a wheel containing a hub motor. The air fork is made by Trauma, adjustable for compression dampening with lockout. AVADAR doesn't publish the specs, but travel seems to be in the 100 to 120 millimeter range based upon my measurements of travel marks on the fork tubes. The fork brace hosts a bright LED headlight. Again, AVADAR does not publish its specs, but it's definitely bright enough for urban night riding or to get you out of the woods in the dark if you linger past sunset. However, you'll want something brighter for dedicated nighttime trail riding. Fully hydraulic calipers squeeze 160 millimeter rotors front and rear. The C3 also comes standard with a kickstand that stays out of the way when riding, but proves very handy when you dismount your bike. The C3 comes mostly assembled. It's just a matter of removing the packing materials, installing the front wheel, clamping the bars in place, snapping the battery into the down tube, bolting the headlight in place, and threading on the pedals. I did find using a wheel stand was very helpful for assembly, as none of the packing materials will do the job very well. Total assembly time for me was a casual 21 minutes. Any competent bike shop can assemble the C3, but if this is the kind of bike that will fit your needs, I encourage you to learn how to do these steps yourself. That will give you a better understanding of how to make your own adjustments and minor repairs in the field that are common to all hardtail bikes, with motors or not. It is a beautiful but very windy day. I think once I get into this mountain bike park, it might be a little bit better for video. But I normally do my e-bike test route a combination of some pretty well-groomed trails as well as pavement. That's not what this bike really excels at. I mean, it does just fine on that. But this is every bit a hardtail mountain bike as any entry-level mountain bike with a front fork. And I've been riding out here every ride that I've done with this. It does great on these trails, and so that's why I'm going to be showing you in more detail some of what I've previewed in a trail-only video I've already released. Right now, I'm riding with no pedal assist whatsoever. The C3 is actually a Class 1 e-bike, and what that means is it has no throttle. It's just pedal assist. So I actually start this ride with no pedal assist whatsoever. I do have the seat lowered by almost 2 inches to get better balance, and I still can get pretty good extension in my pedaling, especially when I sit back. I do crank up some pedal assist, doing stuff like this, up these routes, and then back down to nothing. That's really, I'm just gonna tell you the too long didn't watch for this section. The too long didn't watch is I can ride this without any pedal assist for the vast majority of the riding here, and I do pretty well. It is 57 pounds, and so I do appreciate the pedal assist for climbs and things like that, just because of the weight. But I also appreciate the pedal assist as a guy who blew out his L5 S1 disc over 20 years ago and is serving a life sentence for the injury, and who finds that cranking up hills is what really aggravates that injury for me. So I can ride pretty dynamically still. I can do a lot of the same stuff that I used to be able to do prior to that injury. I just like having a little bit of help to knock that top 10% off of the effort so I can do the same riding and not wreck my back again. This is not a fat tire e-bike. It has 26.5-inch wheels with 2.1 inch wide tires, and that makes it very nimble. One of the downsides actually of fat tires is the rolling weight, the weight, the mass that's in the wheel, that's in the tire. It actually makes the bike handle not as well, even with being the same weight as a mid-drive bike with skinny tires. And so this is extremely nimble, getting around turns and things like that. What you lose is some of that compliance, some of that ability to go over routes like that without getting bounced around. And I'm sure this showing up in the video. What you're seeing is actually the camera bouncing around. It's not me so much. A little root action here. And again, that's all me. Out of the saddle, super easy. I feel like I'm riding a hardtail mountain bike, any of the few that I've owned over the years. The other nice thing about this bike is it has 2 chain rings. Those are the gears up front. And that means that the 8 gears in the back, combined with a small chain ring up front, give me a nice set of graining gears. I just stay in the small chain ring for rides like this. Between the 27.5-inch wheels and the resultantly longer chainstay, you don't get a lot of crossover friction in the chain. That's where, if you're in the small chain ring and then you shift out to the right, the farthest gears, the smallest gears, it can cause binding and noise and things like that. And then the opposite is true when you're in the big chain ring that's on the outside in the front and you are on the inside gears in the back. It's just not an issue. I can use all 8 gears regardless of which chainring I'm on, and I have no problems whatsoever. I use the big chainring for coming across the park to get here, because I have to ride across our state park to get to this municipal park. This place is gorgeous. It has bridges like this everywhere. I love riding out here. And now we've got a bit of a climb, so I'm going to bump it up to level 3 pedal assist. No problem shifting while I'm cranking on the pedals, just like it should be. It is a mid-drive, so the power does get sent through the chain, but the motor is just a 250 watt motor, and it has a torque sensor as well as a cadence sensor. So when you shift, it doesn't actually sense the shift itself. It senses the change in your cadence that comes from that shift, and it adjusts the power appropriately. So between it being a smaller motor than some monster mid-drives and it having the ability to quickly adjust based upon your cadence, there is not very much of an added risk that you're going to break a chain. 250 watts overall is well within what bike drivetrains are capable of handling, because you think about the guys who are really, really strong, they're putting out way more than 250 watts when they're pedaling all the time. I'm not. If you're watching this video thinking about getting this bike, you probably aren't one of those guys either. You're probably looking at the $14,000 mid-drive e-bikes, not this $2,000 one. But that's one of the actual nice things of having a smaller motor, is that you don't have as much of a worry of the drivetrain getting beaten up just because it's a mid-drive. A little bit of pedal assist getting up this curve and these roots. Whoa, super fun. That is the other thing that pedal assist lets me do. I am 51 years old. I am not in the shape I was when I was 21 or 31. And so it's nice to be able to do some of the more technical sections at a speed that I can do as far as reaction goes without being completely gassed to where I can't enjoy the rest of the ride. A 250 watt mid-drive motor is going to put out a lot more torque to the rear wheel than you might think. This puts out 80 Newton meters, which should sound familiar because that is the amount of torque that you'll find a lot of 750 watt hub motors putting to the ground. And that is because mid-drive motors have the torque advantage that you get from the gears. So for 1/3 the power consumption, you get the same amount of torque. That's why this can get away with a 360 watt hour battery and still get you considerable amount of range. And that's why when you're talking about mid-drives versus hub motors, you can't just compare watts to watts. It doesn't work that way. Watts in a mid-drive give you way more torque than watts in a hub motor. Okay, we're gonna go to this flow track and it's gonna show a couple things. First of all, we'll cut the pedal assist down to 0 because this is downhill and I'm not gonna need any. So we're really testing the capabilities of this as a bike. And here is that maneuverability that I'm talking about. This feels just like any hardtail mountain bike without a motor. Much quicker to lean in turns than a fat tire bike and much more nimble for sure. The integrated battery and mid-drive motor also help to get the weight towards the center of rotation of the bike. I'm not going to go into what the center of rotation means as far as maneuverability, but you can kind of think about if you were on those little carousels as a kid, or say like an ice skater doing a twirl. If the ice skater has their hands out, they go slow, but they don't even have to add any energy. If they pull their hands in, they start to rotate more quickly. Their mass doesn't change, just where it is in relation to the center of balance of the bike, or the center of balance of their spin, and they are able to spin more quickly. And that's the same thing with bikes. You get the actual mass closer to the center of rotation, and you're going to have a more nimble platform. That integrated battery and mid-drive motor, plus not having fat tires and the resultant overbuilt wheels to handle them, means that this has a pretty good ability to rotate around its center of rotation. Woo! Yeah, baby, woo! This is fun. Whoa. I just have pedal assist 1 to get me a little bit extra help so I don't get gassed pedaling through this stuff. Oh yeah. Whoa. Woo! Oh my gosh. Safe. Wow. There you go. I am 51, but I still got it. Oh my gosh. Okay. So dry leaves plus slick roots do not equal good traction. I'm going to do the rest of this ride at 3 miles an hour, partly because of the poop in my pants. Now might be a good time to talk about the saddle. When it's not cushioned with poop, it's still a very good saddle. It is a good standard mountain bike saddle, and that's all there is to say about it. It's exactly what I want on this bike. Yeah, you could spend $150 and get a nicer saddle if you wanted to, but I'm not going to change this saddle out. This works great for me. It's the right amount of cushioning, but it is exactly the shape that I want for this kind of riding. Same thing with the grips. The grips are cylindrical grips, none of this ergonomic stuff that is common to a lot of e-bikes. That I understand why they do it. It's not my personal preference, but they are locked onto the bar with bar locks at both ends. They're very grippy. You're not going to be twisting these things on the bars no matter how much you're cranking on them. The shifters are Shimano rapid fire shifters, and they work. The rear derailleur is very responsive. I get the gear I want as soon as I click that shifter. The front derailleur, it's really not the derailleur. I think it's the choice of chain rings. The big chain ring especially just doesn't pick up the chain, even though the derailleur is doing its job. I think they could choose a higher end, more one with sculpted teeth that are designed to actually pick up a chain, and I might switch that out myself. The other thing are the hydraulic brakes. They are also perfect for this bike, and they help me keep from dumping the bike back there as well. They have adjustable brake levers. Actually, every hydraulic disc brake that I've ever seen has little screws on the ends that you can tighten or loosen to get the brake levers right underneath your fingers when you still have your hands gripping the grips. And these are no exception, and I have those dialed in for myself as well. The fork I have very stiff because I want it to perform like a high-end fork, and It still does great coming down these rock steps and this route, but it's still very compliant when I hit things at higher speeds. It's nice having an actual real deal water bottle holder. Okay, now we're gonna go back up those steps. I've got it on pedal assist 3. Because this has a torque sensor, it will start to really put that power on as I push on the pedals to get up over these. The big issue is the leaves are very loose behind the back tire. So I was actually starting to spin out from the torque on those last 2 steps, but I made it. This bike is so fun. This really is the kind of e-bike that I've been looking for. I'm glad I was able to get this in for evaluation because I do enjoy doing more dynamic riding than you can do on a 75 or 80 pound hub motored fat tire e-bike. They are fun too out here, very much fun. But I've had a lot of opportunities leading up to me doing this part of this video to be able to pick whatever bike I wanted to and to go out just for a ride for myself. And this is the bike I grabbed. Okay, hopefully I'm gonna be able to survive this because of the leaves. And so far, so good. Oh, I got hung up, it just stopped. There's a kind of a tab on that rock that just completely stopped the bike. It didn't roll over it. Oh well. Now, I'm gonna say again, for whatever reason, the manufacturer asked me not to call it a mountain bike. Pshaw, as they would say in Pennsylvania where I grew up. This very much is a capable e-mountain bike. You're not gonna be launching this in the air and doing hard landings and things like that, but this has the tires for it, this has the drivetrain for it, and the motor is quite capable at this. Oh, I almost forgot. Speaking of tires, the front and rear wheels have regular dropouts and quick release skewers. So it's super easy. It's just as easy with any regular mountain bike to change out your tube or patch a tube. You don't have to worry about bringing a wrench with you, and you don't have to worry about kind of unplugging electronics and all that you have to do with a hub motor e-bike. This you just flip over or lay on its side, undo the quick release, pull the wheel, do your thing, slap the wheel back in place and lock down the quick release, and you're ready to ride again. That's another advantage of mid-drive e-bikes like this one. But there are a lot of advantages to this particular mid-drive e-bike. The biggest one of them is its price point. Okay, this is perfect. This is why I waited until the end of my ride to cover the control pad. It's great. You can see it. The colors are fantastic. But look at the battery state of charge. 53%. Look at that graphic. First of all, it's red. I don't think red when I've got 53% state of charge. And that looks like less than a third of that battery. So the graphic itself, it's like a graphic designer decided to make this without thinking about proportions. So I wish this were just straight lines, and either it was just a complete worm bar down, or it was segmented and it made a lot more sense to where it was 53% state of charge and you'd see about half of this battery colored in. Also, it shouldn't be red. That's the other thing. But other than that, I love this screen. The whole control panel is very rugged. I think that is the cause of my other complaint, and that's these buttons here. They do have a click to them that you can hear and feel when you're not riding, but with gloves on, I don't actually feel the click. And that's a minor issue. It's no problem for me to find these buttons, so I don't miss hit, but there are definitely times where I can't tell whether I clicked or not, and I have to look, I have to confirm. That's a minor issue, but I do try to do complete reviews, and that would be something that I wish they could do, is have a little bit more of a feedback to those clicks. But other than that, I really like this control pad, and I'm just looking at that number anyway. I'm not looking at that battery, so that doesn't impact my ability to use this.
Fat-tired hub motor e-bikes are tons of fun, but they can't be anywhere near as responsive as a mid-drive like this, with 20 pounds less weight and its mass centered much more closely to its natural pivot point. The 250 watt motor is way more help than you might think, because it's got 2 chain rings up front and 8 gears in the back, providing a torque advantage between the motor and the contact patch to the ground. It's going to give you, at pedal assist level 5, up to 80 Newton meters of torque assist, just like most 750 watt hub motors are going to give you. Plus, the pedal assist system uses a torque sensor, so it's going to apply more motor power the harder you push on the pedals. And that makes the pedal assist system quite seamless, which is exactly the way I like it. This is an e-bike to consider for people who already enjoy riding hardtail mountain bikes, who might be on a budget but are looking for some help with their climbs or a boost to their endurance. It is not a good match for riders who want the motor to do most of the work. The lack of throttle should be clue enough that this is a bike that wants to be ridden. If you're interested in getting the C3 or any products from AVADAR, please use the link in the video description to place your order. It supports the channel when you do. Be sure to subscribe for more e-bike videos. I really appreciate you watching The Tech of Tech, and I hope to see you next time.